and then now obviously it went through. So yeah, it looks good. Looks totally
Okay,
fine.
cool, cool.
Yeah, man. How long have you been back in Virginia?
Well, right now I'm not in Virginia. I'm up in Quebec.
Oh, okay.
So I'm up here. It's been what, 2 weeks that I've been here in
Okay.
Quebec. But before here, I was down in Virginia, DC area, um, meeting family, old friends of mine, old
Okay.
friends I used to dance with.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went to a couple parties and and then now I'm just here up in Quebec. I'm teaching for another 3 weekends.
Okay.
And then I'm kind of headed your way. I'm passing you. Actually, I'm going to be going to Mexico and stuff. So I
Right.
got,
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
yeah. So not Utah, not yet, but
Not yet. It's gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah, soon, hopefully one day.
So you got
Yeah.
the whole week that you just chill, and then on the weekend you just teach.
No, so on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I do my workshops. So we travel
Okay.
to like different areas of the province,
Oh, okay.
and during the weekday we have access to the studio. So I train like a few people who are like more serious about like the training and stuff. So
Yeah.
pretty much every day. So yeah, but it's usually like around 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That whole like that time time span that I'm
Eastern
busy. But
Canada
there,
seems Eastern
uh,
Canada seems to be a breeding ground right now for a lot of training. I've noticed, like obviously over the years you got Cirque du Soleil, main training in Montreal, but in terms of like pole stance, I think in Toronto, but it just seems like a lot of people have gone there to train.
yeah, I mean, I remember coming to Canada. I think one of my first YouTube videos was here in Canada, up in Edmonton.
Okay.
And I was teaching a group of girls there. They were like a dance crew called the Fly Girls.
Oh, I see
And
it. Yeah, that's one of your most popular videos. I'm looking at your YouTube right now. Yeah.
yeah,
14
that was
years ago.
like yeah, that was like yeah, definitely like from the very beginning. And at that time, they didn't really have much teachers coming up to Canada to teach up in that region, at least the West Coast Canada and Edmonton, Calgary.
There it is.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
14 years ago.
That was 14 years ago. God, it feels longer, but yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I really like it up in Canada. They're always really hungry to learn. I felt like I would work much more in Canada than I would in the US. US is mostly like it'd be like more in the region of like the West Coast or the East Coast. But
Hmm.
in Canada, you have this all these other towns and cities that have like such interest in the club dance culture, street dance culture.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's I know at least with a lot of the crews that have competed like Hip Hop International, like the homegirls up there in Quebec, um,
Yeah,
DM Nation. But then like I said, I've just seen like Frankie J up there, Buddha Stretch. I think Styles. Um, just trying to think. There's so many people, even in Vancouver too. Like just not even on that side. There's so many like poppers and botters and strutters that have that kind of West Coast. And I don't
yeah,
know. I just
yeah.
always hear people. In fact, I got a friend that moved from Egypt, from Cairo, to Toronto, and he's been teaching like crazy. And then a lot of people from Eastern Europe have moved to Canada and stuff like that. So, like I said, I just keep hearing about Canada and Canada. So,
Sure, sure. And now Canada is allowing certain amounts of immigrants to come to this country
okay.
to for working and stuff because they're so like underpopulated, right?
Mm.
So,
Oh, okay.
so yes. So now it's like open doors for people who they can't make it to the States. Canada's the other option.
Yeah. So you've been
Have, have
like looking
you
at
been here to Canada? You've been to Canada
I've
before?
never been, man. So I was just actually talking to my friend from Break Culture. So it's this month it'll be 6 years since I had my strokes. Um,
Okay.
and I was living in Vegas, and I was working for Allegiant Air, and I had a job in Toronto in like 2-3 weeks from when I had my stroke. So I was planning to go up to work, and then I was going to shoot dancers up there, you know, and see what.
Okay.
And then actually from there, I was going to Lebanon to judge and teach, and then Israel, and then meet up in Cairo with my buddy. So
Okay.
yeah, I haven't been, man. I want to go just because, yeah, there's just so much talent.
Yeah. Wait, did you say you had a stroke?
Yeah, I had two.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, back to back.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's why a lot of like step by step over the last few years has been kind of a little bit on the underground and just reposting a lot of old clips because it was just kind of the first year I was fighting for my life.
Wow.
So yeah, but Canada's on the list. I just had a friend invite me up to Vancouver, but it's a lot. It's a lot still because I use a wheelchair and a walker still. Um,
Oh, okay.
so having
Okay.
to go through with an electric wheelchair, like in the plane, and it's a lot more work
Yeah.
to get out and do
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I'm
And
alive.
then if you do, yeah, and if you do go to Vancouver, when would you be going?
Their battle is coming up, I think. Let's see, the 20th or something. It's their last one.
20th of
Um,
February, right?
yeah, I probably won't make it, man, just
Yeah.
because I've got it's a lot of planning and stuff. I've got, you know, even where I live, I'm DJing weddings and stuff just to get by,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but you know, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. It'll happen.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry to hear all
but
that. I never knew.
yeah, no, you know, I've mentioned it obviously over the years just about my health battles, but there's so much social media out there that you can't keep up with everybody and everything, right? Like it's
Yeah.
so, and I'm not the kind of person to be like, oh, you know, this is me, pity and stuff. I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Sure.
I've been fighting, man. I just been trying to fight, and yeah, here we are. So, doctor actually said, you know, no cliche, like dance really did save your life because I was so healthy that anybody in that situation would have not been here, you know.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I'm blessed, man. But all right, well, it's top of the hour, so we can officially get started.
Yeah.
So,
So
what's up, everybody? It's Seabass with Step by Step. I got the homie Kundu in the house. How you doing, man?
good. Good. Good to finally connect with you after so long. We've been in touch for years.
Yeah, you've been you hit the States a couple times when obviously you weren't in India or traveling the world. So um, I know, like I have to always shout out my buddy Nate because he was the one, you know, back in like 2011, maybe even earlier than that, that was watching your tutorials religiously. He's a b-boy, you know, and
Okay.
he really got me onto your stuff, and it was our crew, man. Like we were so like party dance and just the new jack style, and that really kind of resonated. So I'll have to, you know, I told him, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm interviewing him finally today. So it's like, oh, I'm on there for sure. And actually, he's in Virginia too, so might have to
Oh, he's in
connect.
Virginia? Okay.
Yeah, he went from Utah to Virginia, so I'll have to connect you guys or something. That would be he'd love
Yeah,
that.
that would be cool. I'm just not in Virginia right now. I don't know when
Right.
I'll be back that side. I mean, Virginia is where I grew up. Uh, especially all the beginnings of my dance journey started in VA.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, I like I said, like, obviously you're in Canada right now, but is your home base in the DMV? Like when you go, there he is, big fan.
Good question. Good question about the home base. I I don't have a home base really.
Okay.
I've been living this dance nomadic lifestyle for a long time, and it's nothing that I thought about doing. It just kind of like started happening.
Yeah.
I couldn't stay in one place too long, so I just kind of like move around. Even in India, spending so much time in India, like my base for a while was Bombay, which is like it's like the LA or New York kind of city, but out there. And after some time, I couldn't stay there too long. Like it just became too much. So I would find these other places, like I don't know if you heard of Goa, but you know,
I
like
don't think so.
these areas or like these places are beautiful, but like just outside these big cities. And then when work would come, like they would fly me in and I would do the projects and then go out and then,
Okay.
live more of a quiet life. And as I get older, I notice that I like to actually stay away from the cities. Like unless I'm have a project or meeting up with some people or going to like a fun party or event or something. But other than that, I'd rather just be like outside somewhere, more in nature and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot on your videos too. Like when you're shooting videos, like yeah, there's a few in the city maybe with dancers that you connect with.
Yeah.
But as far as like maybe some of your individual ones, like the Maldives, like and some of these other ones, you're kind of like in the jungle. So
Yeah, because I find it, kind of interesting these places that I come across. And yeah, with the some of the videos that I do, it's like with students. So wherever the workshops are, I'll do accordingly. Like, like one of my recent workshops outside Canada, US was in Vietnam.
mhm.
So we found this cool area. The host brought me to this area and I shot it with one of the B-boys out there. And, it's cool. Like you get to, for me, it's just taking these little memories and leaving crumbs
Yeah,
behind, looking back in life like, oh yeah, these like, just kind of like that.
yeah, that's your
But
journal.
yeah,
That's your journal,
it's
right? Like that's your journal
it's
of
like my
life.
journal. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
really much of a writer or anything, so yeah, I guess it's like a video journal kind of thing. So, and
yeah,
I like to create. I like to not only teach, but also to, come up with these fun little videos, like for the Instagram or the YouTube and stuff. It keeps it going, and you're not like, you know, you're not told by a client how to do this project or if you're doing a commercial and stuff like that. It's because I used to do all that kind of work back in the day, but now I just, I do these videos for myself just for fun, and then I just continue with the teaching and traveling.
yeah, for sure. I like said, your journey has been amazing to watch just over the 12 years that we've done step by step, but just the connection that you've made with so many people around the world. And going back to 1990, like just looking a little bit at your bio and growing up in Virginia, what was like the one thing that really set dance off for you? Was it before that, or was it like when you were 15?
Uh, well, I was 15, 1990. There's a couple friends of mine, Brendan and Vernon, who were dancers,
Okay.
and um, I just kind of like stumbled upon it. Like I remember going to their house and I went to the doorbell, like randomly, like opened the door, and back at that time we used to leave our doors open and stuff. So
Yeah.
open the door downstairs, and they
Yeah.
were just down in the basement. They were practicing, and I was just kind of like watching and observing, and like, wow, okay. I didn't know they were dancers. I didn't know they were dancing, at that time. So like I remember, I think it was Brendan or Vernon. It was like, come on, and they like showed me some steps, and then before that time, I never danced. I was really a shy kid. Like I remember in the high school we would have these like homecomings and like these dance events and stuff, and I would never go because I was like, I don't know how to dance. And I think that's when I built my confidence to start dancing because then I started hanging out with them more often. And then we would like watch like the music videos like Yo MTV Raps, Rap City, um, Soul Train,
Mm.
uh, Def Comedy Jam had that part at the end where there were like dancers and stuff. So, those were the tools of learning at that time. And we would record it and like used to watch it repeat, and like, try to figure out some of the moves and stuff like that. But these two guys were the first to put me on to dance, Brendan and Vernon, onto hip hop dancing. And then it kind of like started from there. Um, so I was 15, and then the first time I went to a house club, I was 17,
Mm.
and the house club was up in DC, which was about like 20, 30 minutes from, I was in Northern Virginia,
Okay.
and it was about a 20-minute drive and stuff, and like DC is like, ooh, like DC,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then and so like didn't know much about house, going there for the first time, and I was just like in awe of this new world, seeing people from different backgrounds, and everybody was dressing like so different than I would usually see. And then the music, I instantly like fell in love with the music and the dance and everything. And I remember just seeing these circles, and I used to just sit on the side and like kind of observe
Mm.
and just like, wow, this crazy footwork they were doing. It was like so above me. Like I couldn't figure out what they were doing. And I remember like every weekend, I was in high school at that time, so every weekend I'd, I would drive up to DC, sometimes with a friend, sometimes I'd go by myself, and I would go to this club. It was called Tracks. I don't know if I mentioned it, but and I used to just like just watch, and I just would watch for hours and hours. And I remember like trying to figure little things out, like a step or something, and I would go out to the other side of the club and I would like try to practice it and stuff. And then I would come back to the circle, and I used to just like watch and watch. And that was for a few months. It was just a lot of observation.
Mm.
And then it started, picking up from there with the house dancing, so yeah.
That's incredible. So just to be like, just to hear that, like at 15, you're like, oh, I don't know how to dance because, again, looking at your journey and your career, it's like so
Yeah.
many people have been affected by, your tutorials and who you are and all that. So to hear that, like, you recognize this like feeling and you sat back and observed, what
Yeah,
moment? Yeah, go ahead.
like the initial days was like that. Like there was no such thing as a dance class, at
Right.
least in Virginia.
Okay.
There was no dance classes. This is all very new. And DC has a huge history, like the house scene, the hip hop scene. Unfortunately, it never became like a chapter in the street club dance history.
Mm.
But I remember witnessing so much. This was like, and dancing in Virginia for 7 years before I even moved to New York. I mean, there was so much happening. I mean, Trax being like the big club. Trax was like shelter to New York City, you
Mm.
know? Yeah. So, I mean, just the way people dance. And it was very different, like, than the New York way of dancing, like the way people would dance up in DC, the DMV area and stuff. So, yeah, that's how we had to learn in the beginning. It was just like observe and figure things out. And then you had your friends, you started making friends and you start showing each other. I'm sure you went through it. We all go through it in the initial stages, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, show me how to do that. Or, you're working on the windmill, and like, yeah, I can't figure out, and, just helping each other out because we didn't have like classes or mentors. Now we're at a certain age that like, somebody like me who's mentoring people, I'm like, it saves a lot of time and frustration, I guess, like, for a lot of the dancers coming up, definitely time wise, right?
Yeah.
Because I see people getting so good so fast, and I've seen that
Crazy.
again and again. Yeah, and,
You,
like when you're young, like at that time again, it's like we had to figure things out, so how much of our time we had to like figure out how to do this. And when you have somebody showing you for in real life or whatever, or on YouTube or whatever, it's like, you know, makes things so much easier.
so was there a moment like, and I love that you're explaining that because especially being in like the early 90s and this is another era of the hip hop, the house, the connection. There's no classes. It's not like it is today. And I love that you can explain that to people because it was a feeling for us. We didn't have to log on to anything. Our log on was, like you said, going to clubs, or for me, it was like street ciphers, where there was, a bunch of Asian imports around and people were just getting down right there in the parking lot, and it was a vibe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What, where you grew up in Utah? Or,
No, I grew up in San Diego.
oh, okay, San Diego. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's okay,
So
okay.
back then too, so like I graduated high school like 2001, but I remember specifically like 98 there being one b-boy at our school who just like, when you're in that moment, you're just like you just sit back and you're just like, whoa, this is incredible, because you watch the music videos and So like for me, it was, oh yeah, we're going to a rave this weekend, and like I wasn't in that scene or anything, but now talking to older dancers who grew up in SoCal, that was where they popped. That was where they, did all the different styles. So
Yeah,
hearing about the East Coast in the early '90s and how you observe that is really interesting to make that connection.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Those were definitely like good times. I mean, I
So
graduated 1990. I graduated high school in '93,
okay,
and and then I remember when I went to college, I was kind of like not sure. I was not sure what I wanted to do. My dad owned a restaurant. I think the idea was for me to take over the restaurant, um, maybe take some business classes down at the university. But um, I ran into a couple of dancers out there, Monte, Carlos, and Derek, and they were house hip hop dancers, but then they were also um, studying dance, the formal training, like the ballet, the modern dance,
wow,
West African jazz, stuff like that. So it was I ran into these guys. And where did I run into them? I think I ran into them at a club, and then later like on the campus, and I was like quite inquisitive, like okay, like I was trying to figure this out, like okay, so you guys are club dancers and you're studying dance and stuff. So then I ended up enrolling myself in some dance classes. So my first class was West African dance class. It was like broad term, and then I took like
wow,
ballet 101, and it was the only classes that I constantly would go all the time. And then I would hang with these guys. They're like dance wise, they were like on another level. But I would hang with them, and wherever they would go, I would just go out to the parties in Richmond. So sorry, I didn't mention that. So I went to college in Richmond, Virginia, down like 2 hours south of DC, and then on the weekends we would drive up to DC to like tracks or some other clubs like Chambers of Sound or the Fifth Column. There are other clubs, so we would go to these clubs on the weekends. So it was a lot of just hanging with these guys that were like so skilled and so good at what they do, and just
mm,
being, you learn so much from them, right? And then we would have like the dance classes during the week and stuff. So, they were also big mentors to me. And it was like we're still really close with each other. About 3 years ago, me and actually Monte, we got down for Just the Boo in
oh
DC,
yeah,
and yeah, it was
I
really
remember
nice. Like we
that,
did
man.
pretty well, for some oldies and stuff. We did well. And I remember like the crowd, like everybody was super amped. And I think one of the comments is like somebody said something about like watching us live was like watching a VHS tape or something.
Oh, dang.
And I remember that, and I was just like, man, that's okay, cool. I like that. But yeah, Monte, he's like such a, I mean, one of my, there he is. Yeah, he's like one of my favorite dancers to this day. I've never seen anybody dance like him. He always had his own like unique way of dancing and moving.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, he's just like even when he came to New York, people were just like in awe and stuff. So everywhere
yeah,
you go. And the thing is, when he was younger, he was like on another level. He went through like a bad car wreck where he was in a coma, and then he
wow.
almost he almost was decapitated in two parts. So he was lucky to be alive. And now I just recently spoke to him. He's going through like I think a hip replacement or something. So it's like, you know,
Man.
yeah. So unfortunate. But yeah, he was like, just watching him. Anybody who's came across his path and seen him dance, everybody's like just blown away. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that would be fun to sit down with you guys if I ever get out there and
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
get
He's
some
I mean
history, get some.
Yeah, I mean he's like older generation, so like him and Carlos and Derek were like they're like 3 years older than me. But
Yeah.
at that time I was like considered like their little brother. Um, yeah, but there. I mean Monte, the guy you just showed, he still dances. He lives down in Richmond.
Yeah.
He's got a family life. He's still doing his thing. he was up in New York for a while. We all used to roll together quite a bit. He did some music videos out there too,
It's
and
cool to see like over the years how like the DMV, the Philly, and the New York have all kind of stuck together, like supporting each other and stuff. And there's just something different about going on the East Coast with the break, like just with every style. Like I just remember my first time going out there and just there was just such a rawness about each style. But
yeah,
they're all and you can witness to this too, but just the connection of the different styles because when I've talked to Wiggles about the boogie or the rock or the break, and then you have obviously the influence of house dance and all these different things, but it's just been cool to see all the support over the years still,
yeah,
not just like back in the 80s, not just the early 90s, but still there's that connection. The homie Kenneth Clutch, was doing things for years, connecting with him. And anyways, yeah, just when you guys say NYC and I look at some of the music videos you've done like Raw Digga and KRS-One, just that East Coast unity, I feel
yeah,
like.
yeah. And also, like, I think we were more like, I know outside the US, especially when I'm in Asia or even when I was in Europe, it's very much like house dancer, hip hop dancer has been like very, like, I don't want to say compartmentalized, but like in that sense where DC and New York, when we would go dancing, we were like club dancers, and we would, maybe we would gravitate more towards a certain dance form than the others. But I think most of us were pretty versatile, at least in the group that I was rolling with, like my friends circle. So, somebody, I'll do a little bit of popping, a bit of locking. For some time, I was heavy into breaking for like 10 years. But like,
Okay.
we were just dancers, club dancers, and we just enjoy different kinds of music. I mean, for me, I have always gravitated after hearing house music for the first time. I've always been more of like into that space. Though I mean, I still like hip hop, especially. I mean, especially from my era, like the late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, just yeah, we were basically just like kids that just would go to clubs, club kids.
Right.
That's all it was. Yeah, and we would always look for the next party, and and New York. I mean, DC. We had a lot of things happening in clubs and parties and stuff. But then, like when I go back, it's not the same how it was when I grew up. And then
Right.
living in New York, there's like so much happening all the time. So we'd be out every night. I remember at one time I went out every night for 2 weeks straight, and it was like on a weekly basis I would be out 3 times, 4 times. But like I remember that time I went out and after 2 weeks I was kind of like, okay, I need to take a break.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because that's what we do, just go out dancing. That was like our practice or training or our way of de-stress.